fix a leaky carb. This exact motor is a Briggs & Stratton that I worked on before, but I don't really like to sell the same day or get back the same day that I fix them, because I want to make sure that, one, they start back up tomorrow, and two, that something like this doesn't happen. So the story is, fixed it. It's gonna went out the next day to kind of take a picture and post it on the whatever website I was gonna post on to sell it, and it wouldn't start. I looked at the gas. I knew I put in about a quarter of a tank. I would have run for a total of like maybe 10 minutes, and that wouldn't be enough to go through that much. So look down here, and it's wet. Carburetor was leaking, so yeah, have to do it. Didn't want to, but have to. Let's see here. Gas tank is completely empty. The problem with this wasn't the fuel system, though. That was the unfortunate part. It was that it didn't have spark, or I forget exactly. Get rid of some of the nasties in there. So what does now fix it? Now this is going to be the same for a lot of different styles of engine. This particular one just has 3 screws holding the air filter cover box on it. And I guess it's also the primer, for this style at least. But whatever style you have, get it to the point where you are down to your carburetor only. And naturally, this can be as aggravating as possible. What's going on with this? There we go. Gasket is on the carburetor. Next, you're going to want to disconnect your fuel line. I like to use these pliers. These take off most of clips, fuel clips. They're pretty nice to have. Have a pretty long reach. They're not sharp. They're pretty nice. Fuel line came off pretty easy on this one, but the ones that don't, I like having these because they're actually meant for fuel lines. They come in 3 different sizes. It says it's a Pittsburgh brand, but maybe others make it. I got these off Amazon. I'm thinking of those. So I highly recommend getting a set of those. Even if you don't use it only for small engine work, you'd be surprised what they come in handy for. There might be a little bit of fuel left in the line. And there it is. About half a cup of this. Maybe a little more. Even though that was probably decent fuel to keep, I don't really like to reuse fuel because, I mean, one, I don't put a lot in there to begin with, so it's not going to be too much of a waste, but clean fuel like that, for me at least, turns into kind of like a solvent to clean up other things. Like, it's good for the shop counters or cleaning up oil that when it's built off your floor. I use it quite a bit for that. Okay, so now that we have this off, let's go to the carb station and we'll take it from there. Okay, so over at the carb station, let us get 1/2 inch. Now Briggs is going to be a 1/2 inch. Hondas are going to be a 10 millimeter A lot of the cones are also 10 millimeter. If you get like a knockoff carb from like Amazon or eBay or whatever, they're like 12 millimeters or something. So, oh, that's on there tight. Okay. Let's cheat. So, take your correct size. I'd put it over something I can catch the fuel in. These gaskets are very important, so if you drop it, make sure to find it. Oh, there's a little water in there. Good thing we took it off anyway. Yeah, we'll just dispose of that. Let's grab a clean shop towel. And wipe out the bowl. Okay. So while you're in here, you might as well clean up a few things. But the main thing that you're going to be wanting to do is inspecting this seal. Now, for Hondas and other engines of that type, it generally isn't as important, but this seal on a Briggs & Stratton, if it's bad, especially on the ones that you need to push to prime with the little primer bulb in the front, not the old style but the newer style, if this isn't making a good seal, you'll never get fuel going in there. You'll just go crazy trying to figure out why. It's probably this. Replace this. This is in good condition, so I'm not too worried about it. What I am going to do though is there's two styles mainly for small engines, for carburetor seats. Tecumseh does this, Briggs & Strattons do this, Hondas don't necessarily do it though. But there's a little seat, this one's red, and we want to replace that because that's kind of our problem. That is our problem. Maybe the needle, but most likely the seat. Hear that? That's the quickest and easiest way for you to take out a seat. Sometimes it doesn't work. I tried doing it on video before, and of course it didn't work, but this time it did. So I'm going to put this in the ultrasonic cleaner, blow it out. Same thing with the jet. On a Honda, this is not the jet is actually in there. So on those styles, you want to take it out. I like to buy these long impact or these long power tool extensions that has this type of end on it to go in and pull it out, because one, it's wider, it makes a very good fit in the brass. Because if you don't have a good fit and there's a little play, you can easily strip out the brass, and that's no fun at all. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this in the cleaner, and I'll bring you back once I'm done. Okay, so this is out. So, like I said, there's two types of carburetors. Is for this, at least for small engines like this, like mowers or pressure washers, snow blowers, whatever it is. But only Briggs and Tecumseh, I really notice, do this. They have these, let me see if I can grab one. I'll drop one. Little rubber seats. And to install them properly, I'm going to put that in the clean bowl so I don't get it dirty. You need to do a couple of things. One, you need to get a drill. Take a Q-tip, any old Q-tip, 99 cents at the dollar store. Cut it in half. Ideally that wouldn't have happened, but we put that one there for later. And then we take a little bit of carbs cleaner, put this into the drill like so, and then spray a little bit of carb cleaner where the seat goes. You can also use like valve grinding compound. You can use that orange stuff for hands that has like pumice or something in it. That also works, but that's for really bad, and this is just a minor leak, so I'm just going to use carb cleaner. This step isn't necessarily too critical on this style carburetor, but there was a piece of dirt or some corrosion or anything that is being pressed up against the seat and the wall of the carburetor, that can make this happen too. It's especially important though if you don't have a seat, you have the type that has the rubber tip needle. You do want to do that every time with those types. This is a tool for Tecumseh's. It is 670377. It's like 15 bucks. One end, this is how you take the seat out if the air compressor trick doesn't work. This end puts the seat on. This is a gauge of sorts to kind of tell you what level the float should be on. To make it a little easier on us, we'll just put a dab of marble in there. This isn't meant for Briggs, but it works for Briggs. It might come out. Oh, it didn't. Okay, good. But you don't want to rely on that to firmly seat it in. You want to take something else, like a bit that's just big enough. That's too big. And it has to be clean, so let's clean it off. No dirt. And we just kind of press it in there, move it side to side, left to right. You could use a Allen key, you could use anything, just don't damage it. That's the key point. So how the carb works is the float conveniently does what it says it floats, and when it gets to a certain point, the needle, which doesn't look like a needle, touches that seat. So if anything is wrong with the needle, which is what we're going to check now, you want to replace it. That looks fine. These you don't really have to worry too much about. It's the rubber tipped ones that you might have to replace. If you're having a consistent leaking problem, you've already cleaned the surface, you want to make sure it's not coming from like a line or something else. You know it's coming from the needle on seat. Just buy a new needle. So we're going to put that back in. Put the pin back in. And when you check it, you kind of want to make sure this is level. It looks pretty good. Next you want to boil into this one. With it like this, you should not have any airflow. When you lift it up, there should be airflow, and when you let it go, it should stop again. If you do hear anything, you know you need to start over. Okay, I think that's pretty good actually. So now we're going to put the bowl back on. This gasket can also cause a slight leak. The way you figure that out is if the gas is coming over the rim of the bowl and flowing out, because this is the opposite way it is usually. That's a needle and seat problem, or it could be flowing into the intake. It doesn't really matter. But you don't want that to happen. But just coming out of the bottom, or if it's only on one side, it could just be where the fuel line's connected to it. It could also be this gasket. So this is only for the needle and seat. If you see it just on the bottom, change the gasket. If you see it from just this side or another side, if it's a Honda, make sure the fuel line's good and that you have a proper fuel clamp on it, or fuel clip. Other than that, this looks like it's good to go, and put it back on. We'll put some gas in it and we'll wait a couple minutes and I'll bring it back to show that it's dry. Okay, it's on there. I left that off. And let's pour a little bit of fuel in it. Let's see if we get the same result. When you suspect you have leaking problems, it's probably not the best idea to fill your tank all the way to the top. So far so good. Dry. While we're waiting for that, let's go ahead and scrape off this old piece of gasket. Should have done that on the table. But this gives us something to do while we wait for it to start leaking. Still good. Inside of the throat, the carburetor is still good. Okay, well, onward and forward. The ones that leak overnight are really the hard ones to kind of double check if you got it right. If it leaks within the next minute or two, you pretty much have a pretty good solid leak. But the hard ones are the overnight ones because you have to wait. But those are also probably the ones where the smallest of details can affect it. So it's taking your time, making sure that you get everything right. It's pretty imperative on the smaller ones. The larger ones, you have a little more leeway. However, I do smell gas. My fingers are dry, carb is dry, fuel line is dry. Could just be that when I have the tank open. Probably is. Let's take a look. Do we see fuel? I can't tell. Here we go. You seem to have a problem. That's not working. I might have to replace that bowl gasket after all. It just seemed very good. I'm pretty sure I replaced it already. Or no, this is the carb I didn't have to. That's right. Yeah, we're going to have to replace it. Okay, I'm going to do that real quick and be right back. Okay, so that's what I did. I was forgot to put this back on, but to be honest, it's already broken up there, so it's not too much of a worry of mine. I'll bend and put it back on. But, I took the bowl off, put a new seal in there. It still was doing the exact same thing. So I sometimes when depending on where you get your seals, I want to say that it's come in different qualities, and that for whatever reason changes by the day. It seems like, but the seals I have, sometimes they seem like they might be a little bit too narrow, or maybe not as pliable as they should be, or something. So whenever that ends up happening, I take a little bit of black RTV and I rub a small skin on it, just a very, very small layer, nothing more than just what you can put on the end of your pinky, and I just rub it on the area where it has like the little air tube transfer for the pump or whatever it's called, and that seals it up pretty good. So you need to have a completely sealed system, whether it be your bowl or the gasket for the primer bowl. So we're still dry. I waited probably a good half an hour, 45 minutes. Went in, started smoking some beef. So I think it's a roast. And now I smell it. I'm already hungry, so I want to get this done. But I guess even if I am working, it's going to take a good probably about 5 hours. Oh, that's on there. It should start. I mean, I'm not really too concerned of it not starting. My main concern is I just don't want it leaking. Nothing. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to wait half an hour or so. I am going to start it though. The vibration of it sometimes can help determine if it's going to leak anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will be right back. Okay, let's give her a start and see what happens. One, two, 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 two. Oh, that's right. It's down here. Let's investigate that rattle out. Might be something on the bottom of the duck. Now my shirt's all dirty too for whatever reason. But let's go ahead and check it. Still nice and dry. I think that's going to be about it. I'm going to wait until tomorrow to not really do anything, see if anything happens, but I will post the results at the end of the video. Definitely like, subscribe if you want to see more. I try to upload fairly routinely and try to find something that's a little bit different, but sometimes you just come across the same stuff over and over. So this is something that happens often, so I wanted to make a video on how to prevent it. And like I said, this is a Briggs, but the same theory goes on pretty much any small engine. Even like a car engine technically could have the same problem. The needle could just be stuck. So if you have an older vehicle with a carburetor, you know, this same idea will be useful. Just make sure that the needle and the resting surface or the seat of it is clean, free of debris, no what's the word I'm thinking of it, where it's wore out, maybe some chatter marks, maybe some corrosion, you know, just make sure all that's not present. And if it's not, go ahead and give it a clean. If it is, replace the needle and seating, and that's about it. Okay, well, hope you like it. See everyone later. Bye.